Story 1. My name's Daniel Morales. I'm 32 now. I live in Kansas City. Work from home doing back-end database stuff. It's boring. I like it that way. Keeps my mind off things. Off this one thing, mostly. This happened when I was a kid, 10 years old, in 2002. In a town called Elko, Nevada. Tiny place. Blink and you miss it. We moved there when my mom got a job at a motel on the highway. She was a night manager and let me hang around sometimes in the office while she worked. I don't remember what month it was. Summer, maybe. The motel had one of those weird half U shapes with a tiny pool in the middle that nobody ever used. Most of the guests were just passing through. Truckers, couples, sometimes sketchy people. My mom never talked about them, just gave them keys and kept her head down. That night I was with her because my babysitter bailed. She set me up in the back office with some snacks and a little portable DVD player. I was watching Spy Kids. I remember that detail weirdly well, even though everything else is fuzzy. Anyway, around, I want to say 10:30 or 11, the buzzer rang. That old metal doorbell up front that made a horrible clanging sound. I peeked out to see who it was, just curious. And this guy was standing at the window, thin, pale, wearing a stained hoodie even though it was warm. I don't remember his face, and that bugs the hell out of me. It's like my brain just decided not to store it. Mom got up and went to check him in. He didn't have a reservation, and his name, this is another thing I remember exactly, was Marvin L. Just Marvin L. No last name. That's what he wrote on the card. My mom paused when she saw that, but then shrugged and gave him room 14. Here's where it starts to get messed up. So I'm back in the office, watching my movie, and like maybe half an hour later, I hear a loud bang. Not gunshot loud, but heavy. Like someone dropping a body on the floor, and then another, and then silence. My mom peeked out of the window and looked nervous. She told me to stay put and went out with the master key. She didn't come back for like 15 minutes, and when she did, her face looked drained. I asked her what happened, and she said, "Don't ask questions. Just stay inside." That was it. The next day, room 14 was empty. Sheets gone. Mattress flicked. The guy gone. Like no trace. No checkout. No luggage. No nothing. We watched the cameras. Yeah, my mom was paranoid and had this old grainy CCTV system set up. At 11:19 p.m., you can see the guy walk to his room, but that's it. No footage of him leaving. Not through the front, not through the back, not out a window. It's like he vanished. And then things started happening in that room. Cleaning staff refused to go in alone. Said they heard someone whispering from inside, even when the door was locked. One guy, Hector, I still remember him, quit after he walked in and found all the lamps unscrewed and the word "come" written in water on the mirror. Not fog, actual water. Like someone dipped their finger in the sink and spelled it out. The worst part? I went in there once. Just once, a week after the guy left. I snuck the key when my mom wasn't looking. I don't know why. Dumb kid curiosity, I guess. I brought a flashlight and crept in. The room was empty. Normal. But it smelled, I don't know, like old meat. Rotten and sour. I looked around. The TV was unplugged. The window was bolted shut. Closet empty. But under the bed, there was this box. A red shoebox. I opened it. Inside were photos, not of the guy, of me. Photos of me in the motel office, watching my DVD player, eating crackers. One of me sleeping, all taken from behind the glass window of the office. There were 12 of them. I took the box and ran. But when I got to the front desk, it was gone. Just gone. I still don't know how. I had it in my hands. My palms were sweating and gripping it tight. I had it. Then I didn't. I never told my mom. I just cried and said I didn't feel good and wanted to go home. She probably figured I saw something I shouldn't have. The next day, room 14 was closed permanently, locked up, eventually used for storage. Then the motel got sold. New owners tore down half of it and turned it into a vape shop and laundromat. But here's the thing. About 6 years ago, long after we'd left Elko, I got a Facebook message from a name I didn't recognize. Just said, "Hey, you remember Marvin?" No profile picture, no mutuals, no nothing. I didn't respond, blocked it immediately. But I haven't stopped checking under my bed every single night since. That room shouldn't exist anymore. But I think it does, somewhere. Story 2. My name's Eli Parker. I'm 30 now, living in a condo outside Portland. I've got a normal job, normal friends, a dog that sleeps curled up beside me every night. You'd think I'd be past this kind of thing by now, but I'm not. I never will be. Because what happened to me when I was a kid, there's no file for it in your head. You just carry it around, and every now and then, it leaks out, in dreams, or when you see someone on the street who looks almost, but not quite, like him. This all happened when I was 11, summer of 2004. We were living in a government-run youth camp for foster kids up in eastern Washington. My mom had been in and out of the picture for years by that point. She was trying to get clean, which I heard adults whisper like it was a magic spell. It wasn't. So I got moved around a lot. That summer, I ended up at this program called Cedar Bridge Transitional Camp. It was supposed to be this healing, outdoorsy thing. Kids doing crafts, hiking, talking to state therapists. It was built on the grounds of an old religious boarding school or something, and they hadn't changed much. Still had the cabins, old fire pits, creaky bunk beds. The whole place smelled like moss and pine needles and old ash. The staff were fine, overworked, tired, but not mean. Except one guy, Marcus. He was one of the junior counselors. Not very old, maybe 19 or 20, kind of tall, pale. Always wore this blue zip-up hoodie, even when it was blazing hot. He had this scratchy voice, like someone who'd been sick for years but never got better. The thing is, he didn't act like the others. He didn't try to be your friend, didn't lead any games or read bedtime stories. Most of the time, he just stood at the edge of things, watching. The first time I ever spoke to him, I was walking back from the main hall after dinner. The sun was just starting to dip, and I was alone because I'd taken too long grabbing extra bread. I was halfway down the trail when I saw him standing still between two trees, like he'd been carved out of the shadows. I almost didn't see him. He said, "You shouldn't be out alone." I said, "I'm just going back to Cabin D." He stared at me for a second, then said, "You hear them at night?" I asked what he meant. He smiled, barely, and said, "The ones that knock." I laughed, thought it was a joke, but he didn't laugh back. He just turned around and walked off into the trees. That night, I told my bunkmates about it. One of them, this kid from Spokane named Terry, got real quiet. Then he said, "Don't talk about the knocking." None of the other boys said anything, just looked away. That was the first time I noticed something was really off about the place. The next few nights, I started hearing it. A soft knock. Just one. Every night between 2 and 3 a.m. Not loud, just firm, measured, like someone knocking on a door right beside your head. It didn't come from the front door. It came from inside the cabin. Sometimes from the closet. Once from under the bunk. Never the same spot twice. The others heard it too. You could tell by how they'd shift in bed, eyes wide open, but pretending to sleep. I tried telling one of the senior counselors. She said it was probably tree branches or raccoons or active imaginations, but she wouldn't stay overnight. None of them ever stayed in the cabins. They slept in a separate lodge at the far end of camp. Then, one night, Terry was gone. His bed was empty in the morning. Sheets perfectly folded, pillow fluffed, like a hotel bed. No one said anything. At breakfast, there was an empty seat, and nobody even acknowledged it. The counselors avoided questions. I think they said he'd gone home, but that didn't make sense. He didn't have parents to go home to. That was the whole reason he was there. The next night, the knocking came again, but louder. 3 times. Bam, bam, bam. I couldn't sleep. I sat up with a flashlight under my blanket and tried to read Goosebumps just to keep my brain somewhere safe. That's when I saw the shadow. It was on the wall opposite me, not cast by anyone in the room. It moved like someone walking just outside the cabin. But the window was closed, and no one was out there. It was too tall, wrong shape. The head was tilted at an unnatural angle, like it had no neck, just sloped shoulders and a lump where a face should be. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The shadow paused, and then it just melted. Not walked away. It sort of drooped down the wall like oil. In the morning, I told Marcus about it. He just looked at me and said, "They don't like being seen." That's when I noticed he wasn't wearing the blue hoodie anymore. He looked thinner, paler, almost sick. His voice cracked when he talked, like he hadn't slept in days. I asked if he meant they, as in the counselors. He said no. Then he handed me a notebook, said I should write in it at night, keep my thoughts busy, that they liked quiet minds. That notebook is the only thing I kept from that camp. Pages and pages of messy, jittery writing. Some of it mine, some of it not. There are parts I don't remember writing. Words that don't make sense. Symbols and dates I can't explain, including one that hadn't happened yet. July 9th, 2007. That's the day my foster brother died in his sleep. 3 years later. Totally healthy kid, just didn't wake up. That date had been scribbled 4 times on one of the notebook pages, underneath a crudely drawn door with no handle. I still have the notebook. Haven't opened it in years. It's in a shoebox in my closet, wrapped in an old towel. The last page just says, "The knocking always comes back." After camp ended, I never saw Marcus again. I asked about him when I got transferred to a new foster home. No record. Nobody by that name ever worked at Cedar Bridge, not according to the caseworker. But I remember him. I remember that smell of wet bark and old ash. I remember Terry's empty bed. I remember the shadow that melted. And sometimes, when it's really quiet, I still hear the knocking. Just once. Not loud, not angry, just patient. Story 3. I'm Kyle. Kyle Winters. I'm 29 now, living in Pittsburgh, working nights at a UPS warehouse. I'm not the kind of guy who believes in ghosts or whatever. Not really. Not officially, anyway. But this thing that happened, I don't know what else to call it. I was a kid, maybe 10, 11? This was in 2004. We were living in this town, outside Harrisburg, called Middletown. My mom had just remarried, and we moved into her new husband's place. Bigger house. Nicer yard. Totally different school. I hated it. But that's not the part that messed me up. What messed me up was the house across the street. I remember the first time I noticed it. It was 2 stories, big wraparound porch, all the windows boarded up. But it didn't look abandoned. It was weirdly taken care of. Grass always short. Porch swept. A few lawn gnomes out front, which somehow made it worse. Like, who keeps up yard decorations at a boarded-up house? My stepdad said some old guy owned it, but hadn't lived there in years. Maybe he died. Nobody knew for sure. Everyone just ignored it, like it wasn't even part of the neighborhood. Then one day, I saw someone in the upstairs window. I was walking home from school and glanced up. And yeah, there was a face behind the top right window. Pale, no expression, just watching. I remember thinking it looked more like a mask than a face, like someone pretending to be human. But then I blinked, and it was gone. I told my mom and she shrugged it off, said maybe someone broke in, that I shouldn't worry about it. But after that, I started noticing little things, like how the front porch light would be on some nights, or how the boards on the windows would shift slightly, like they'd been moved and nailed back in place. Once, I swear I saw smoke coming out of the chimney. Then came Halloween. I went trick-or-treating with my friend Jacob. He was the only kid at school who didn't think I was weird for always talking about creepy stuff. We were dressed as these budget Ninja Turtles. His mom made our shells out of pizza boxes. We were maybe 10 houses in when he stopped and pointed across the street. "The lights are on." I looked. He was right. That creepy boarded-up house, the porch light was glowing, and the front door was cracked open. No decorations, no music, no kids. "Wanna go knock?" he asked, half joking. I said no, obviously, but he ran ahead anyway. Said he was just gonna do it for fun, then dared me to follow. I didn't want to be the chicken, so I followed. We walked up to the porch. I remember that the steps didn't creak, not even a little. The door was open maybe 5 inches, just enough to see the hallway inside. Dim yellow light, old wallpaper, nothing else. There was a bowl by the door, one of those plastic pumpkin things, except it was real, like an actual carved pumpkin, filled with wrapped candy. Jacob picked up a Milky Way and laughed. "Guess ghosts like chocolate." Then the door opened more. Slowly, smoothly. We both stopped. And I swear I heard breathing. Not panting, not wheezing. Just slow, steady breathing from somewhere deeper inside. Jacob nudged me. "Say something." I didn't. So he said, "Thanks," really loud, kind of mocking, and tossed the candy wrapper back in the bowl. Then we both ran off the porch, laughing. I didn't sleep that night. It wasn't guilt. It was something else. Something about how the air in that hallway felt. Thick, still. Like the whole place was waiting for something. The next morning, I looked out my window and saw the front door wide open. No more porch light. The pumpkin was gone. Just the bowl, empty, tipped on its side, like someone had kicked it over. Jacob didn't come to school that day, or the next. They said he was sick. Then they said he moved. But nobody saw a moving truck. No goodbye. His house was just empty. I tried asking my mom. She told me not to talk about it, that his family had things going on. Her face got tight, like she was holding back something. I never got a straight answer. About a week later, I got curious. Dumb, yeah, but I wanted to see if maybe he left something behind. A note or whatever. I was just a kid, and I thought everything had an explanation. So I went back. Middle of the afternoon, clear sky. Still remember the sun was out, and it was just warm enough for a hoodie. I crossed the street, went up the porch. Door was shut again, but not locked. I didn't even knock. The inside was weird, like it had been lived in yesterday. Old furniture, magazines, a record player in the corner. Smelled like mothballs and burnt toast. I called Jacob's name. No answer. I wandered a little. Down the hall. Into the kitchen. And then I saw it. The pumpkin. Same one. Same jagged smile. Sitting on the counter. But it wasn't lit. Just sitting there. Like it was watching me. And behind it, taped to the wall, was a photo. Me and Jacob on the porch that night, taken from behind, like from inside the house. I didn't scream, I just ran. Left the door open, didn't care. I didn't stop until I got back to my house and locked every door. I showed my mom. She didn't believe me, thought I was making it up. I told her about the photo. She said I probably imagined it, that my brain was trying to fill in gaps because I missed my friend. But the next morning, our front porch had a pumpkin on it, carved with the same smile. No note, no message, just that smile, and a single wrapped Milky Way bar placed beside it. We moved 4 months later, not because of that, officially, but I know that was part of it. My mom started having nightmares, said she saw someone standing in our backyard at night, just barely past the tree line. Never caught them, but I think she believed me after that. We never saw Jacob again. His old house is still there, and every Halloween, someone puts a pumpkin on the porch. Same face, same empty house, same feeling that something inside is waiting.